Hello, everyone. My name is Yongkang. Today, I'm very excited to give you a demo how to build a cloud container engine, CCE Kubernetes Cluster on Huawei Cloud. First of all, why Huawei Cloud? So I took a screenshot based on China Internet Watch research. So as you can see from the screen, this is actually a pretty latest report from last December. So Alibaba Cloud clearly market leader, #1 in China, and followed by Huawei Cloud, 17% market share. Alibaba Cloud does have, close to 40% market share. And then followed by Tencent Cloud and Baidu Cloud. Okay, so why Huawei Cloud? So clearly, it is the second largest cloud in China. They got probably the most aggressive growth rate, 49.1% year-over-year growth. It is the #4 in the emerging Asia Pacific region. It is one of the top 5 in the global market. But if you talk about Thailand, actually in Thailand, Huawei Cloud is a #3 in the #3 position. And there is a few reference links. If you want to check the details of the research, there are 2 reference links. Yeah. So #3 in Thailand. So when it comes to the public cloud vendors in Thailand, Huawei Cloud are actually in the 3rd position. So how to create a CCE cluster? There are many ways, like any other cloud providers. So you can create a CCE cluster via Huawei Cloud Web Console. You can create via the Huawei Cloud CLI, they call H Cloud CLI. Or you can use the Huawei Cloud SDKs. Also allow you to use the APIs to create the CCE cluster. In addition, if you're very much interested to use Terraform, so they also have a Terraform module allow you to create the CCE cluster. So today I'm going to show you how to create a CCE cluster from the web console. So here is a preparation task. It is actually pretty simple. All you need is a web browser, and you need to have a Huawei Cloud account credentials with enough permissions. And then you can log into Huawei Cloud Console. So today's demo, I will show you how to create a CCE cluster. Also comes with a default node pool. And after that, I will show you how to deploy a sample application to the cluster. So let me log into my console. So here is a Huawei Cloud web console. If you haven't logged in, you need to sign in. Once you log in, from the left menu bar, under the computer options, there is one option. It's called a Cloud Container Engine. If you haven't made it a favorite, you can make it a favorite. And once you make a favorite, it will list it in the left menu bar. And also you can find it from the recent visited services. Okay, let me click from the menu option here, Cloud Container Engine, and it will bring you up here where you can buy a CCE cluster. So I click buy cluster and confirm buy CCE cluster. So make sure, first of all, the billing mode, you don't want to choose monthly or yearly, especially for my case, I just want to test. I make it a pay per use and I choose my region. So they are not having as many regions as Alibaba Cloud or any other cloud, but in Asia Pacific, it is not that behind. They also have like probably 7 regions as far as I remember. Okay, I'm based in Singapore, so I choose AP Singapore. I give a cluster name CCE for Yongkang. And right now you got 2 options when it comes to the Kubernetes version. You got a 1.19 or 1.21. 1.21 right now it's in beta. So I'm going to leave it as a 1.19. And the management scale, it is different price. For my testing, I just leave it at 50 nodes. Number of master nodes for my testing, I don't need 3 master nodes. So I choose 1 master node just to confirm there is no guaranteed SLA because you only have 1 master node. I confirm that. And choose the VPC and the subnet. If you don't have a VPC next to the option, you can create a VPC immediately. If you don't have a subnet, you also need to create a subnet immediately. So once you select the VPC, select the subnet, you can move to the next options. So I leave it as a VPC network and a container network segment. I don't want to configure manually. I just select the automatically selector. And the service networking segment, leave it as a default. The rest of these authorization mode, I don't need to configure some more extras. And the advanced setting, there are a few advanced settings I don't need to configure right now for the testing purposes. So I'm going to click next, create a node. So now I got the option to configure my work node. So right now on my region AP Southeast-3, I leave it at AZ1 selected. My node type, I choose VM node, and the machine type or computer instance type, I want to choose a 4 CPU 8 GB memory. That's a C6s.xlarge.2. And yeah, that's all I need to select right now. So I go to the selection here. The OS image, I choose leave it as a public image. I might choose the Ubuntu image. For those of you who are not aware, the EULA OS, that's a Huawei Cloud, their own OS. Okay, system disk, I leave it at default 40 GB, and the data disk 100 GB, that's enough. And my subnet. So my VPC subnet. So I do the refresh, I select my subnet. Do I need an external, elastic IP address? For now, I don't need elastic IP for the external access. Basically, if you want to give the node external access, that's where you need to assign elastic IP address. So how to log in? I can leave it as a default, use the password, or recommended to choose, key pairs. So for my case, yeah, for the testing, I just use the password. And there is 2 advanced options, advanced ECS, that's Elastic Computer Server, and also advanced Kubernetes settings. Yeah, for now, I just leave it as a default. So I got everything configured. Go to next, install add-on. So by default, you got a core DNS selected, and Everest, that's the cloud native container storage based on the CSI standards. Both of these are mandatory. Both of them already selected, but you got the options to choose other add-ons. If you want, for example, you might want to install NGX, Ingress, Metrics Server, Dashboard, etc. I'm not going to add any other add-on. Just click next, confirm. So I'm aware of about limitations. For example, single master node, there is some possibility the node fail will cause some impact. So product details. Here is my CCE cluster name, my VPC, subnet, etc., and also my nodes, computer node, the default node pool configurations. I got everything is ready. Just click submit. So once I click submit, oh, too bad. Yeah, this instance type is not available. Let me come back to change it to a different instance type. So the instance type is not available. In my earlier testing, I simply choose 4 GB, 4 CPU, 16 GB memory. Yeah, let me reselect this one. General purpose. I choose S3.xlarge.4. I got a 16 gigabytes memory for CPU. Click next. Click confirm. Review again. So now I got I got a 4 CPU, 16 GB memory. just submit. Once I click submit, you will see the progress details. So let's see. So you can see the operation take 5 minutes to complete. So to submit, complete the job, the whole cluster creation, it says it takes 6 to 10 minutes to create. But in my testing, actually, most of the time, just about 4 minutes to complete the CCE cluster creation. So you can see all the details here. So first of all, we're going to create a security groups. So we're going to create a network. Right now, we're creating the cluster. So it says it does take about 5 minutes. Yeah, let's see this time. So in my only a few testing, it take like 4 minutes, sometimes less than 4 minutes, sometimes 4 minutes, 15 seconds, etc. Might pause here. Let's wait the job finish. Let's continue. Looks like the cluster has been created successfully. So if I look at the timing here, you can see I started the job just exactly 16:34. Finished the job here 16:38:45. So that is just under 5 minutes. So 4 minutes this time, 4 minutes and 45 seconds. It is pretty fast. Yeah, it is almost the same time as Google Cloud. So far, Google Cloud is the fastest, typically less than 4 minutes. Okay, so the cluster is ready. So I can click back to the cluster list. So I can see my cluster is running 1.19. And all the details here. I got a 4 CPU, 16 gig memory. How to access remotely? So let me show you here. So under the command line tools, you click kubectl, and it will give you the options from the bottom of the page. So if you move down, you can see there is a one line say download the kubectl config file. So I click here to download the config file. You can choose how long you want the certificate to expire. I just leave it as 5 years. I click here to save to my local machine. So I want to save as a cce-kubeconfig.json file. So I click save. I want to replace the file. And now if I come back to my command line, so I want to export the kubeconfig file. Now I can get the node status to check my node status of the, actually, I forgot one thing. Right now, the cluster was created. You only have the private IP address. There is no public IP. That's why when I try to access from my local laptop, I want to be able to access. Let me come back to the cluster and I will click the nodes here. I'm actually, sorry, let me click the cluster and I will select the cluster details, come back to here again, kubectl. So on the right-hand side, left side, you got some basic information here. And on the right-hand side, your public API server address. So let me make it bigger here, highlight here, public API server address. I don't have the public IP associated with the cluster. That's why when I try to access from my laptop, which I want to be able to access. So I click bind the elastic IP. So I choose my elastic IP address. If you don't have an elastic IP here yet, basically it's a public IP address. So I can click assign elastic IP, and it will give you option. You need to buy an EIP basically. I don't want to monthly, yearly. I just pay per use, and I leave the rest as a default. I just click next and confirm the buy to submit. Once I purchase the IP address, I can come back to the CCE console and do a refresh. I will see my IP address here. Click OK to confirm we're binding the IP address. Now you go to the public endpoint to access the API server. But for me to access the cluster remotely from my laptop, I need to download again the kube configure. Sorry, I forgot to add the elastic IP. So let me click save again. Click here. I want to save the configure as CCE-kube configure. Click save. Replace the file. Come back to the console. Now, if I'm going to do the command again, it will show me the node status. So let me say if it's up running yet. Let me try do it again. So now I run kubectl get node status. I can see my cluster is up running 5 minutes ago, and it is running 1.19. That's the version. The CCE, that's the Huawei Cloud Container Engine. Okay, so the cluster is up running. Now, if I come back to my slide deck here, so I already created the CCE cluster with a default pool with 1 node, 4 CPUs, 16 gig memory. Now I can walk you through how to deploy sample application. So before that, let's verify if the cluster is up running. So I already downloaded the CCE kube configure file. I already verified the cluster node status. So the cluster is all good. Now I can walk you through how to create a MySQL application. Basically to deploy a containerized application, MySQL in this case, onto the CCE cluster. So how to do it? From the CCE console, on the workloads, you will find that there is an option called deployments. And from there, you click create a deployment. And you just follow the screen prompts to fill out all the details. And then you can confirm if the MySQL database is up running. So come back to the Cloud Console. And from here, from the left menu side, CCE console, this is my CCE console. On the workloads, there is a deployment. I click deployments. Right now, I don't have any deployments yet. So on the top right-hand side, I click create deployment. So what are you going to deploy? So let's say I want to deploy MySQL. And so this is my cluster. Which cluster you're going to deploy? And which namespace are you going to deploy? I want to deploy to Yong-MySQL. This is my namespace. I click OK. And how many instances you're going to deploy? So for me, yeah, since it's a testing, I just 1 instance is enough. I click next. So now I can add containers. So Huawei Cloud actually makes it easier. After I click add a container, you can choose from the public open source images. So, or you can upload your own images here, or maybe you want to choose any other third-party images, or somebody shared you the images. I'm going to choose open source images. And from here, I can do a search MySQL. So I can find a MySQL here, click OK. Just to confirm, do you want to choose the latest version? So I got an image name. I got an image version. You can choose any particular version. For now, I just leave it as a default. And the container name, you can customize the container resource or how much resource you want to request. Do you want to limit the resource consumption? And yeah, that's pretty much all I want to cover. But for you to access the MySQL database, you need to add some environment variables like the DB password, DB user, etc. So where to do it? I'm actually let me show you here. And if you go to the documentation page, yeah, let me come back here. So if you go to the documentation page, you should be able to see. Let me bring this screen here. Okay, basically you can follow the instructions. If you want to access, give the access to someone to actually log into the MySQL database, you need to set the MySQL root password, MySQL database, MySQL user, MySQL password, etc. So for now, I just want to show you how to create a database, how to deploy a sample application. I don't have to, set this. And click next, set application access. How do you want to access the service? So you can add a service. It could be via cluster IP, how to access your container port, 3306, 3306. That's the MySQL default port number. Okay, you might choose the cluster IP or node port, or there is some other options as well. I choose confirm and I click next. And there are some additional advanced settings like upgrade policy, scheduling policy, etc. Advanced port settings. I don't want to configure any advanced settings right now. Click create. So now we're going to deploy MySQL to the newly created CCE cluster. So once you click create the deployment, you can go back to the deployment list, or you can view the deployment details. And from here, so failed to restart container. Let me do a refresh. Yeah, it looks like I have to get all these environment variables in set up. Let me get rid of the deployment. I will do it again. I will select all of the resources. I will clean up the deployment right now, and then I will show you how to redeploy. Okay, so confirm all of the stuff are gone. I'm going to click create a component deployment MySQL. And I want to move to Yong MySQL. That's my namespace, one instance, add containers, select from my open source image, my SQL, and select MySQL. And let me choose the 5.7, for example, and leave the rest as default. And the environment variables, maybe it is must have. Yeah, let me set the environment variables. I give a password, yeah, for the testing purpose. Yeah, I just make it, so simple. Password 123, and what else? Yeah, there is a database name. Yeah, looks like these are required. So without these environment variables, your containers are not able to become running status. So database user, DBA user, and I can make a MySQL password. So I'll make it a password 123 as well. But I know it's not the best practice. Yeah, but just to give you for the testing, leave it as this. So go to next. How to allow other service, service to access the database. Click add a service. I leave it as a cluster IP, container port 3306, the access port also 3603, 3306, sorry, 3306. Click OK, click next, configure advanced settings. I don't want to make any advanced changes here. Click create. So now we are creating the deployment. So if I click view deployment details here, so let's say, so shortly, only a few seconds, the container is up running already. If I do a refresh here, you can see the MySQL workload will become a running status as well. Okay, so now it's up to you how you are going to, you might want to create some tables or whatever you want to do, but the database is up running inside the CCE cluster as a container. So you can start to use the database. So come back to the slide deck. I finished the demo, created the CCE cluster. We also created a MySQL application running on CCE cluster. And here is a reference link for how to create a CCE cluster, how to create a MySQL workload, all from the public web page, documentation page. And if you want to try my free automation tools, here is a few links. So I got the automation on Google Cloud. You just run one command, 6 minutes. I'm going to automate the GKE cluster creation, deploy a PostgreSQL database, plus install custom K10, the #1 Kubernetes backup software. And also comes with the backup policy configured. Immediately, the moment you log into the web console, you can see my backup jobs already kicked off. So the second automation is on Azure Cloud. Similarly, one command, 8 minutes. We're going to build the automation AKS plus MySQL plus custom K10 plus the compute backup policies, kickoff on demand jobs, all done 8 minutes. AWS Cloud, I got the automation 20 minutes, so one command, build the EKS cluster, comes with the Cassandra database deployed and with custom K10. And another automation on IBM Cloud, it is OpenShift container platform with OpenShift container storage plus MongoDB plus custom K10. So on the left-hand part of the screen, that's the instructions. On the right-hand side of the links, that's the GitHub source code. Additional information, if you want to follow me to learn how to build a Kubernetes cluster. So right now, I've got the Kubernetes cluster. I recorded the YouTube video on Google Cloud, GKE, Amazon, AWS, EKS, Red Hat OpenShift, ROSA, VMware Tanzu, Alibaba Cloud Container Service for Kubernetes, HP Ezmeral Container Platform, and Oracle Kubernetes Engine, and plus a Huawei Cloud Container Engine. Right now, I'm recording this one. And after you actually build the cluster, I will start to work on the how to back up the containers. So right now, I've got a GKE, EKS, OCP, ROSA, Tanzu, ACK, ECP, OKE. CCE is next. I'm going to complete the CCE backup, how it works. And the third, link is about how to build and protect the containers, build a cluster, Kubernetes cluster, how to protect the containers, all done by the automation. So this is a YouTube channel. It's a playlist including all different popular Kubernetes clusters. The last one is all these popular Kubernetes clusters are grouped together. So for OpenShift, for GKE, for EKS, AKS, etc. Coming next, so I want to show you how to deploy a sample database into CCE cluster, how to run the backup and the restore of the containers running on CCE cluster, how to migrate the containers to CCE cluster. Could be from on-premise, could be from other cloud, could be from other Kubernetes distributions. So that's all I want to cover for today. Very much appreciate your time. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy your day. Thanks once again. Bye.